Okay, so to get started, I've got my Saunders watercolor paper, 140 pound, and I've got my Velvet Touch Princeton paintbrush, size 8, and my Winsor Newton watercolors. So we're going to be doing just some very simple florals. I'm going to show you kind of a rose technique. This one here is almost like a clover, but I'm turning it into like a little flower. Very easy, 3 little petals. You could even make it 4 or 5 petals if you want to. And then this little whimsical flower here. I'm not really even sure what kind of flower this is, but it's very pretty and I just wanted to create it. So I'm going to show you just 3 simple little watercolors today. Oh, and then of course I'm going to be showing you some foliage as well. And then we're going to be cutting these out and we're going to be making a collage with them. So I'm going to go ahead and start with, I think the easiest flower here is this little one that looks almost like a clover. And I'm going to be doing it, let's see, I did it in purple up there. Let's go ahead and do it in, I believe this is my indigo. Or no, this is my Prussian blue. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your watercolor paint. I've got it on the tip of my brush right here. And you're going to make 3 little dots. 1, 2, 3. Almost like a little triangle form there. If you want more petals than 3, then make as many dots as you want. But I'm just going to show you 3 little petals. I'm going to wash off my brush. And then my brush is just damp. It's not saturated. I washed it off and then I dabbed it off on my paper towel. And then I'm going to just start with that little dot and I'm just going to kind of wiggle my way like this. Just wiggle your brush all the way to the end, like forming a little petal here. And then of course the top part of your petal will be a little bit lighter because you had more water than paint, because the tip of your brush never reached the end of the petal. So it's more saturated with paint more at the tip here. So this is more water up this way. If it does bleed too much, you can always go back with just water and push some of that paint back down to the tip and it'll lighten up your petal there. All right, the same thing, just water. And make these petals as thick as you want. You can make them thinner. You can make them a little bit like more round, a little bit more like a teardrop. And then if some of the paint didn't come out of that little tip there, you can always help it out a little bit. Just dab it a little bit more. And then the other side, I'm going to turn my page here. Again, just water, starting at the tip. And I'm just wiggling it back and forth, my brush. And you can make these petals as big as you want. That's really, really cute. Now, let's say I didn't want all that blue up here. I could take my clean brush and I could just kind of move that paint back to the tip of the point of the center here of the petal. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit more of my same color paint and I'm just going to kind of connect these together. And look at that, it just bleeds even more into there. So all I did was I took a little bit more paint, added it to the center, and since my petals were wet already, it just kind of bled out. And that's beautiful. I love that look. If you don't like that look and you want it a little bit more subtle, just take a clean brush and just wipe some of that up and dab it off on your paper towel. All right, so that was one, very easy. Again, you could do 4 petals, 5 petals, it doesn't matter. Next, I'm going to show you this really generic little rose here. If you know how to do little C curves, you'll know how to create this rose. Let's see, I did this one in red, so let's go ahead and do a purple. I'll do a purple rose for you. So I've got my paint on my brush. Again, not too saturated, but just enough. And I'm going to start with the center of the flower first. So I'm just going to do almost like a shaky little spiral. I'm barely touching my page, and as I go out with the petals, I'm going to press my brush down a little bit more and do some C curves. And you can get as thick as you want. Okay, I'm going to wash off my brush, and I'm going to start maneuvering some of those around just to make them like little petals, because you don't want it to be a perfect little spiral. You want to break up some of that. Need another little petal over here. This one will be a little bit lighter since I didn't have as much paint on my brush. And then even the spiral in the middle, you want to go ahead and break that up a little bit. Just break it up a little bit. You want some of your white showing through still because it'll show you really highlights of the pretty little petals, but you don't want too much of the white showing, of the paper showing. So you got to find that happy medium. All right, let's let this dry, and then we can always go back over it if we want to. And then the third flower I'm going to show you is this really pretty one here, and this one's really fun. I did this one, I believe, with indigo and my opera pink, but let's see. Let's do something different. I think I'm going to make a red and blue one. So I'll take my red, which I believe this is my cad red. Get some on my brush here. And I'm just going to start putting in little dots. This is going to be the center of the flower. I don't want too much on my page here, but just enough. I'm going to make some little dots, just like that. And you can make those dots as close as you want, but you do want to leave some of that white space still showing through. All right, and then I'm going to take some of my, let's see, I think this one is my cerulean blue. So get some on your brush. And you're going to be making the petals just the same way that you made those. You're going to start from the center. Now, if you touch the red, which is still wet, it's going to bleed into your blue. And I like that look. I don't know if you can see it here, but my blue bled into my pink here. And I really like that. If you don't like it, let this dry. And you're going to start making some of those petals. Now, see how the red bled into my blue? I like that. Or your blue could actually bleed into your red as well. Just depends on how much water you have where. All right, let's put another petal. And blue and red make purple. So you might start seeing some purpley hues in these flowers too, if you do red and blue. Again, I've got blue, and just keep going around. Just keep going around your little center here. You can make your petals even touch if you want to. Here I have some touching. Here I have some space in between them. So you could just do a little variety if you want to. Just kind of play around with the shape of these petals. And then we're going to make a really nice collage, a floral collage with these. Now, what's really nice about making collages is you're going to be cutting around all these flowers, and you're just going to be putting them together to form a painting, a bouquet. And it's nice because if you mess up on a flower, you didn't ruin your painting. You just don't cut that flower out. Just go on and create another one. So these collages are very, very forgiving, because you can pick and choose which leaf you use, which flower you use. That's really, really cool. All right, I think I want to bring some of my center together here. So since it's still wet, I'm just using water, and I'm just gonna bring that center together a little bit more. Very pretty. I love the way the red bled into those petals there. Didn't really bleed too much into there. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of my red, and I'm just going to put it in there. Just help that along a little bit. There. Very pretty. All right, so those are 3 generic flowers. Oh, here, this one here, I want to go in and add a little bit more depth to the middle there. So I'm just going to take the same color I used, have it on my brush, and I'm just going to go around with a shaky little spiral hand, go around my flower again. Now I'm going to stay mostly just in the center. I'm not going to bring it out too much. I just want it to stay in the center. My flower was still damp, so it is bleeding a little bit here, which I love. And if it's not doing what you want it to do, just go ahead and help it out a little bit. I just want it to bleed out a little bit more. My flower was starting to dry up already on this one side, so you can help it along. Look how pretty that is. So that pushes the center down, and the outside petals are pushed up. Perfect. All right, so I'm going to show you how to make some very generic leaves. I'm going to take, what is this? My sap green. And nope, this is actually my hooker's green. All right, so to make these flowers, again, I'm still using, I haven't changed brushes. I'm still using my size 8. I'm going to do almost like a little teardrop. I'm going to start with a dot. I'm going to push my my paintbrush down and bring it up to another little dot, okay? Then I'm gonna do the same thing and just curve it the other way. And you can leave some white space in the middle if you want to, so it's like a nice little highlight. If not, you could just cover it up all the way and just do a nice little stem. And if you want to connect something to that, another little leaf, you can. So just, again, curve it to one side, push your brush down, curve it to the other side, and then just connect that little stem. And you can make as many as you want. We're gonna cut our stems out as well, and we're gonna place them in our flowers, in our little bouquet. So you can go ahead and make some that are just single leaves. You can go ahead and make some that are just single leaves. You can make some with the 2 leaves. You can make some with 3 or 4. It doesn't matter. And if you want to add other colors to these, let's see, I'm going to add a little bit of my cad yellow just to show you. I'm going to add a little cad yellow to here. See how it just kind of adds a little something extra, almost like a little highlight. It just makes the green a little bit more limey. It gives it a little bit more dimension, a little bit more interest than just a solid green. So, and you can even add blue. Let's say I wanted to add some blue to this one up here. See how it just changes the color a little bit? It adds a little more dimension, a little shade, a little highlight, depending on what color you're using. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna create some more flowers and leaves, and then we're gonna make our bouquet. Okay, so I went on and I painted some more on another sheet of paper, the same exact flowers, but just different colors. And I went ahead and I painted more leaves. Then I started cutting them out already. Here, let me move this aside. So what I did was I just cut them out with some scissors, nothing fancy, but I did like to leave a little bit of a white border on them. It just makes them pop off the page a little bit more, especially if you're doing your background with a color. The white just kind of highlights it, and it just gives a little bit more of a whimsical look to it. So I went ahead, I'll just show you, and I cut out all the flowers that I did on camera before. So here are those flowers. And then I went ahead and I painted a few more. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut those out. I'll just show you. I'm just taking my scissors and I'm just gonna cut right around my images, and I'm leaving a little bit of white around them. And then it's easier if you just kind of cut them out. Cut them off the big page first, turn them into like little shapes, and then it's easier just to maneuver with the scissors. And these collages are so fun because if you mess up on a flower, you just don't have to cut that flower out. Just start out, you know, with another leaf or another flower, and you could just move on. You don't have to worry about things so much. And then also it's really fun just kind of putting together a little collage. So there's another one. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna keep cutting out some shapes here. Let's see, I'll cut this one out next. So again, it's just easier to cut them out from the big page first. Go around your images very carefully. And then leave a little bit of white space as you're cutting around your flowers. All right, so I went ahead and I cut out all my flowers from both sheets and my leaves, and I just have an assortment here. I don't know how many I'm going to be using. I'm gonna probably pick out my favorite ones to start with and then use the ones that I am okay with for maybe some fillers if I need some fillers in there. I'm gonna do a vase. I'm gonna paint a vase. So I've got another piece of my Saunders watercolor paper, and I'm gonna do just a very generic vase, and then I'm going to place them on top of that. So let me move these all aside. And I'm gonna take a pencil. You could do any size shape vase you want. I think I'm just gonna stick to maybe a little bit more of a squatty vase so that I've got more room to fill up with my flowers. So I think I'm gonna start out with a little oval here. And be mindful about how big your space is. If you've got like a huge vase and you're starting out with almost more of a bowl shape, you're gonna have more greenery, more leaves coming up. If you start with more of a narrow, you can just always just start with a little bit more greenery and then come up with your flowers this way if you want to. So just start thinking about placement as well. It almost looks like a Hershey Kiss, but without the point. And maybe I'll have it come up a little bit more. Yeah, right around there. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and erase this part. I've got a kneaded eraser here. These are really nice because it doesn't leave eraser shavings. So you can go ahead and just lighten up your lines if you want to. Okay. And I know you can't see that too well right now, but I'm gonna go ahead and start filling it in. I'm gonna take my, actually, let me move up a size. I think I'm gonna move to a size 10. And I'm gonna paint my vase first. You could paint it a solid vase, but it's also nice when you have a glass vase that's see-through, because then you can see all the stems and leaves coming through even your vase here. So if you want to bring your greenery down a little bit more, maybe make it more of a clear vase than a solid vase. I'm going to take a little bit of my indigo, and I'm going to make a really light wash of it, and I'm just going to kind of go around where my vase is going to be. And I'm going to bring it up just in kind of little streaks because you want it to make it look like it's see-through. So I would take like a gray, a light blue, you know, any color. It could be a colored glass. It doesn't even have to be just like a see-through, you know, no color glass. It could be glass that is a certain color too. But just make it very translucent that you can see the greenery through. All right, I'm going to just make this really light here, going around my vase. Okay. And then you can probably see the bottom of the vase too. So even if you want to make an oval here towards the bottom, because sometimes like if the vase is see-through, you can see the bottom of it. So I'm going to go ahead and make this side a little bit darker since my light is coming from the right. Add a little bit more blue. And give it a little bit more shade. I like a little bit more of a pop, more of a whimsy painting than a realistic painting. So you don't have to do this part if you don't want to, but I like to add these shadows and just push it a little bit. And then again, the bottom of the painting is going to be, you're going to just see the roundness of the vase coming through. And you want to leave a lot of white space in there because we are going to be bringing in our stems coming through. And then actually, maybe I'll add a little bit more on this side just to ground it a little bit more. Okay. All right. Now, if you want to go ahead and splatter paint like maybe a background, if you want to go ahead and paint a background, if you want to do maybe a little bit of a table, I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to get a brown color here going. And I'm going to bring a little bit of like a brown table more towards the bottom. And if you want to drop in a little bit of that brown into your vase as well while it's still wet, because it's going to be reflecting, the table will be reflecting up through the vase. There. And I think I'll bring in a little bit of my Payne's Gray. And actually, I think I pulled my black, not my Payne's Gray, but that's okay. There, let that dry. Maybe I'll add a little bit in here too. Just kind of that oval on the bottom there. All right, I'm gonna let that dry, and like I said, you can go ahead and give this a background color. You could splatter paint, whatever you want. I think I'm gonna add some splatter paint. I think that'd be really pretty. Maybe I'll use my Opera Rose. I'll get a nice wash of my Opera Rose. There we go. And then I'm going to take my fan brush, just a regular fan brush, and I'm going to get it all nice and saturated with the Opera Rose. And I'm just going to dab it on here. You could do this after you glue your flowers on as well if you want some of that splattered paint to go on your flowers. But I'm gonna do it on first. And then if you get a little bit on your vase and you don't like it, just dab it off. But it's okay if some of it's on your vase too. All right, I'm gonna let that dry, and then we're gonna start placing our flowers. One more thing I wanted to show you before I go ahead and glue my flowers on is if you didn't like this splattery look that you just did, as long as it's still pretty damp, you can go over it with a wet brush and you could just kind of soften it a little bit. You can go up and down, you can go vertical, you can go horizontal, it doesn't matter. It's your painting. So I'm just going over it with some water. Some of these droplets were still wet, so I'm just gonna soften up my background a little bit. Bring it down. And you can let this dry naturally, or you can use a heat gun or blow dryer, just to speed up the process a little bit. So I still see all that splatter paint in the background, but I softened it. So now it's kind of like little pink spots on a pink background, rather than dark pink spots on a white background. It's just a little bit less contrast. I figure there's gonna be a lot of colors with all these flowers, so I just wanna soften this background a little bit. Really pretty. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and dry this, and we're gonna start placing our flowers. Okay, so my paper is pretty dry. It's not 100% dry, but it's pretty dry. And I've got all my little cutouts here. I wanna spread them all apart and see how I wanna place these. Get them all up here. All right, so I think I want some of the bigger ones. I'm gonna start with the bigger ones, and then I'm gonna use the smaller ones as fillers. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna place some of the bigger flowers, and I want it to be a little bit, evenly placed. So I'm gonna place like the ones that are almost similar color and shape, maybe opposite of each other. Maybe I'll do a purple one down here, and then I'll do a pink one in the middle, because I think this one here is my favorite. So I'll put that one right in the middle. And then you can start overlapping them too. You just kind of want to get placement. Let's see, I've got pink. Maybe I'll bring the pink right here. And yellow, I'll bring yellow over here since I have yellow there. And I actually have another yellow one, so maybe I'll just bring it here. I've got a purple. And I haven't placed my leaves yet. I'm gonna do that in a second. Actually, I think I want this yellow one to come down here, like maybe one was falling off. And you can always bring it in a little bit. If you think that they're too spread apart, bring them in a little bit. You can start placing your greenery, tucking it in behind each other. You can have even some of the leaves even on top of some of the flowers if you want. You can have it tucked in behind them. Let's see, I'll put one over here. And then I've got some of these bluer. I didn't do all just green. I did some blue leaves as well. And if you want to tuck some like inside, it'll just maybe even like this one's inside, or on top of the flower, and this one's behind the flower. You can play around with it. And then maybe I want like some leaves on this little guy, like he fell off. All right. Okay, so that's pretty much how I want it. I'm gonna take, okay, so here's a little tip when you're gluing things on to another piece of paper. I'm gonna just take some plain white printer paper, and I've got my tacky glue here. I love this tacky glue. I've been using it since my college years. They kind of introduced it to me when I was in one of my classes where we had to do collages and glue things, and this stuff holds really, really well. All right, I'm gonna start with the bottom ones first. So since my leaf is behind my flower, I'm gonna take my leaf, and you could squirt it out from the top if you want to. Well, let's see if it squirts out. Sometimes it comes out and sometimes it's a little clogged. Let's see what it does today. Oh, it's actually coming out today. All right, so I'm using the tip because it's working today. And I'm just gonna take my finger and I'm gonna smush all this glue around. Okay, you wanna get your sides, all the tips of the flowers and leaves. You wanna get it nice coverage, okay? Then you're gonna take it and you're gonna just put it down. And just hold it there for just a couple seconds. Just hold it. And if it starts popping off, if it's a bigger flower, it might start popping off a little bit. Just go back and press it down once in a while. I'm gonna do the same thing with this flower. Now just remember where you had done the first one. I can still see it shiny here. You don't wanna put your watercolor on top of your wet glue. Just use another part of the page. Just put a little bit of glue on it, take your finger and rub it all the way around. That way you've got full coverage on your whole sheet. So none of it should be popping up. Take your page away. Let's see, I want this one like this. Hold it there for a second. And then you can go on to the next one. All right, let's see. I think this leaf is behind, so I'm gonna take this leaf and I'm gonna put a little glue on him. Just again, spread it all around. Make sure you've got the whole stem. And he was coming down. You can move your flowers around at this point. I kind of know where I want them, so I could just move them out of the way and just press him down. Hold it for a second. Go back and make sure your other ones are not popping up. Looks like these are holding very, very well. Okay. And I think the purple flower was on top of this one. So I'm gonna go ahead and just start gluing the rest of these down. Okay, so I think I used pretty much all my watercolor flowers. The one I did not use was this blue one that I did at the beginning. I just felt like maybe it was a little bit too bright for this. I just wanted to go maybe more with the pinks and the oranges. I know I added a little bit of a blue one in there, but it's so little that it kind of matches some of the leaves that I did in the vase. So I'm gonna leave this one out. So I glued everything down. Now we've got some negative space still in here. So if you want, you can go ahead and pick up your paintbrush again and use the same greens that you did before. I'll just get my sap green and my hooker's green. And you can just kind of come in and do a little bit of, even in the background, some stems peeking through. Even if you want a little greenery in here, just add a little bit of greenery wherever you feel like it needs it. Maybe one here because this little guy's floating up there. And let's see, I think everything's pretty covered. If you want to go ahead and add a few little stems down here, you can, so like they're all in the vase. Use a different color also. So I did my sap green, now I'm doing a little bit darker, my hooker's green. And then we're gonna add some greenery since our since our vase is clear, see-through. We're gonna add some greenery down here. So just kind of think, these flowers, the stems are gonna come in on an angle this way, and these flowers, the stems are gonna come on an angle that way. All right, so I'm just taking my brush, I put some green on there. Maybe one coming through this way. And let's do another one this way. And if you want, you could put a little bit of green down on the bottom, it's kind of like a reflection. Even in the vase, if you want to add a little bit of green in the vase. Just make it look like it's got some reflection in there. You could do that. There. Very, very pretty. If you want, you can go ahead and use a little bit of your Micron ink if you want to do some maybe squiggles or something. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do maybe like a little squiggly border on the outside of it just to kind of frame it a little bit. I also wanted to point out, see how when we left a little bit of that white as we were cutting out our flowers and our stems, see how it's popping off each other? That white just kind of lifts it and just pops it off a little bit. Even on your background, because we did the pink background, the white just pops right off that background. I'm going to take my Micron pen and I'm just going to do kind of a squiggly little border. They're just little. And then if your flower is, or your leaf is, coming off your page, actually I'm going to trim this so when I frame it, it's flat. But if you want to go over with the Micron pen over your painting, you can. Otherwise, just go under, or just go around, I should say. And then I'm going to do the bottom. It just kind of frames it nicely. And if you want to add any squiggles like coming out of your actual flower, you can. Let's just say I've got one coming out here, and I'll just go like that. And then let's say I've got another one coming out here. So you can even add a little bit of your Micron pen and just do some squiggles around it as well. If you want to go ahead and put like some little dots in your flowers, let's say we want to just go ahead and put some like little circles, maybe in the centers of some of the flowers, you could do that. It'll punch it out a little bit as well. Let's see, let's do this one. And you could put some veining in some of your leaves if you want, but I think I'm going to skip out on that part. Yeah, I think just a little bit of pen. That's all I wanted, not too much. And then we're done. So you can go ahead and frame it. You can give it away for Mother's Day. You can make more. You can make, whatever you want. It's really fun. And even if you make like smaller sizes, you could even just make little cards for people and give them away. And again, like I said before, it's really nice because as you're making all your flowers, you're going to be cutting them out anyways. So not each one has to be perfect. If there's one that you don't like this one that I didn't like, leave it out. Just cut it out, and maybe another painting you'll want it, or maybe you'll just throw it away and not even use it at all. So there you go. So I just wanted to quickly show you a couple of collages that I have done in the past. On this one here, I painted the bird and some of the leaves in the background, and then I painted on another sheet some whimsical flowers, and I painted another little bird with some wings here, like little fairy type wings. So that was one little collage I put together. I just glued them on the main page. This was another one I did. I did a bird in the background, and again, I did some florals, and I just wanted to cover up the bird a little bit. And then here's another one I did. So I painted the bird in the background with some flowers and leaves, and then I did some florals on another sheet, all these little florals too. And then I glued them onto my bird. So you can get really, really creative with these collages. I have a really good time making them. I love them. I think they're just so cute and so unique. So I hope this video inspired you a little bit and gave you some ideas to go create on your own. And don't forget to subscribe if you want more videos like this one. And you can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks.